We'll make an opening statement, and then we will take questions for our student athletes, dismiss them, and then take questions for Coach Moren. So, Coach, go ahead.
Well, it's an incredible time of year right now. We are very, very excited. We're about a week and a half out from the official start, although we have had a little bit of an early start from our trip over to Greece this summer in August, which was amazing. And the only athlete that was not with us on that trip was Henna. She was at home in Finland representing her country playing basketball. But got a really good look at our squad for this upcoming season. Got a lot of very interesting, talented pieces. Got some big shoes to fill with the departure of Grace Berger, but very, very confident that we have added some really great pieces in Lene and Jules and Charnice. And so we are just really excited about what's ahead of us. Our schedule is incredibly difficult, but that's how we want it. And I'm just happy to be up here with Sid and Sarah today for the start of what's going to be, I think, an exciting season.
Zach Osterman, Indianapolis Star. I guess sort of a similar question for you, and Jeff talked about just how progressively you've built this program over the last few years. What, if anything, is different about the way you talk about culture, the way you preach it, the way you build it, when maybe there's no more, I want to say there's no more climbing to do, but you are a lot closer to kind of the top of the mountain, and it's more about staying there and sort of, setting yourself there?
Well, I think you have to continue to be able to articulate to recruits, prospects, how we got here, and what we believe that are the standards in our program and why we are to the place that we are. But Sid said it perfectly. I mean, you have to find the recruits that are about the things that we value, and that's the work piece, that's the character piece, that's the team piece. And so, it's, as we all know, in athletics, it's one thing to build it, it's another thing to sustain it. So recruiting has changed for us in terms of the talent pool that we're now recruiting. We're up against the very best. We wouldn't have it any other way. But we still are who we are. We're the team that has always prided itself in its work ethic. We're the team that will continue to play with the chip on its shoulder. We're the team that kind of feels like we still have so much to achieve. And that's why we are who we are, is because we walk into, whether it's Cook Hall or Assembly Hall every day, with this workman-like attitude that we haven't achieved anything yet. And that's what I love about our team and their mindset. There's still, as we always say, there's more work to be done.
Amanda.
Coach, this time last year you pointed to Chloe Moore McNeil as a player who was primed to have a breakout season. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, at this point, is there another player on the team that you think is in a similar position?
Right, yeah. And I was right? That's a great question. I don't know that I feel like with the returners that we have, the experience that we have, the vets that we have, here's what I do know. The three that we brought in, those new kids, are going to have to help us. And they're going to have to grow up quicker than normal. We usually say by the time that they return from Christmas break, you're no longer freshmen. You gotta be wiser and you have to grow up faster. But I think we're going to need the three of them from the beginning, right out of the gates, to show up and give us really good minutes. And I think they're capable of that.
Coach, question right in front of you in the back.
Hey, Coach. Mason Horodesky with WHAS 11 in Louisville. You being a part of that FIBA team that just took home gold, first of all, what was that experience like? And was there anything that you took away from a coaching standpoint watching the overseas games and overseas teams that you want to implement here?
Well, being a part of USA Basketball is always a special invite. Anytime you have the opportunity to represent your country, that's a big deal. I will say that Madrid, Spain, which was far different from Greece, but nonetheless, they were still both really, really great trips. The trip to Spain was more of a work trip, though. And yes, in order to go over there and win a gold, you're going to be up against some really great international teams. And what I always love about that experience, being on having to prep and do scouting reports, you pick up a lot of subtle things that they do over there in terms of their spacing, how they play, and you hope that you can come back and put some of those into place with your own team. But it was a summer of you always want to get better, just like as a team, as the coach here, I'm always looking for opportunities to get a little bit better. And being over there in Colorado for a week and then certainly in Spain for 2 weeks served the purpose of me becoming what I hope is a better basketball coach.
Coach, question in the front.
Zion Brown, Indy Star. Teri, when you look back now that you've been a little farther removed now at the end of the season, those 3 close losses you guys had, what do you feel like kind of went wrong for you guys in those late game situations?
I don't know that well, a couple different things happened. When we were at Iowa, for the end of that was a little bit, hindsight's always 20/20, and would you do something differently in terms of schematically? We might have done that. It was unfortunate. Chloe falls down, can't get to Caitlin quick enough, and she has to shoot one hell of a shot in order to beat us, at their place. And then, you fast forward to, I'm going to assume you're talking about the Big Ten tournament, where Mac gets dinged up in the first round against Michigan State, and she's not the same Mackenzie against Ohio State. And then we go into the NCAA tournament with Mackenzie not practicing for 12 days before we play. And so even though, she doesn't play in the first round against Tennessee Tech, she plays, starts in the first half, a little bit rusty, had to get her feet, which we knew was going to be the case. But we didn't get off to a very good start there either. You got to give credit where credit's due. Miami came out and punched us pretty good in that first half, and we didn't respond. But we did play from behind. We made it a game. I thought we had a chance there. It could have easily have gone into overtime, but it didn't. I think to hear these guys talk about it, it's something that they remember. It's something that motivates them. But for me, I think as I've gotten older in this game, I think I'm more wise. In that one game, those 3 games don't define the season that we had. It was incredible. I don't want to take anything away from that. You win the first ever Big Ten championship in 40 years. You get the number 1 seed, never happened in this program. So there's a lot of things that could have, you might list that did go wrong, but that list of all the things that went right is far greater.
Rick, to your left here, Coach.
Yeah, Teri, Rick Bozich over
Rick's
here.
right.
Where are we at? Oh, hey, yep.
How are you?
I'm
From
great.
WDRB in Louisville.
Yep.
The growth in terms of interest in this program has been exponential over the last few years. I think this year you're going to more reserve seating. Do you sense that? Do your players sense that when you're out around the community or state? And how much more can it grow?
Yeah, it's interesting how often prior to us going to reserve seating, how often that I do get stopped and ask, well, first of all, how much they enjoy watching our program, but then there's always that follow-up question, what are you going to do with the seating problem? What are you going to do with the parking problem? As I always tell them, I have a bigger job and that's to coach women's basketball, and I will take their concerns elsewhere. And we've done that, and we're excited, that we've, I wouldn't say created problems, because I think Scott would tell you that it is not a problem at all. To have reserved seating and parking for women's basketball. But it did become a little bit of an issue because our fans, we try to get down here and warm up, and 90 minutes prior to tip-off, there's a line of people that are trying to hustle down here to get great seats. That, to me, is a great problem to have. Yeah, we're obviously thrilled, and we're grateful that it's turned into what it's become. And I think I could speak for our entire program, but especially those players that play. There's nothing like being in Simon Scott Assembly Hall, playing in front of our fans.
Seth.
Coach, just Mackenzie's got a real chance to pass Tyra and become the program's all-time leading scorer. Just I know part of this answer is or most of it could depend on, team results this year, but just what sort of legacy has she already built here, and what sort of legacy do you think she can leave behind?
Well, to be the first All-American is, you can end there, right? Again, the best part of my job is watching our players come in as freshmen and then watching their transformation or the evolution of them as players and also as people. And so Max has been such a great story, as far as when she came in here and she couldn't give anybody eye contact, and she was very shy and timid, and I don't think it was until probably halfway through Big Ten season her freshman year where she started becoming just a little bit, not as confident as she is, but a little bit more confident that she could play at this level. And I don't know in her wildest dreams if she ever thought that she could become the All-American that she's become here. But Sid hit it on the head. You only do that one way, and that's to get in here and do your work every single day. And so she and Coach Rhett have continued to, every day, days off, there's no such thing for Mackenzie. And so she should be really, proud of herself. I know I'm extremely proud of her, not for the player that she's become, for the person that she's become, in how she's gone about, her work. And she's, pure example of there's no secret sauce to any of it. It's what your habits are every single day. And I think her legacy will be one that Grace Berger left us. And how you build this is by coming in and wanting to do the work, wanting to be passionate about the work, wanting to be passionate about this place, and helping us be successful. And whatever that looks like, whatever it takes, they'll do. And so she will has a chance, to become the all-time leading scorer. Nobody's going to be cheering for her harder than I will be.
Coach, we've got another question to your left over here. Go ahead.
Chloe Peterson, Indy Star. Mm-hmm. Sydney kind of alluded to it, but is there a sense of unfinished business when it comes into this season after the early exit from the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think, again, she answered it, for all of us, for all of those players especially. I think Lene and Jules and Shawnee certainly weren't a part of that, but, there's no question with the chemistry and the closeness of this group that they've had conversations regarding that. And so that's okay, for them to it can't be all of their motivation because, like I said, I don't want them to take away from all the other great things that we accomplished a year ago. But, certainly if they want to use it for fuel, I'm okay with that.
Hi, Coach. Kyle, Sports Report Media. You've got the 5 banners behind you for men. Mm-hmm. Obviously, IU men have been a leader for years. Sure. Here you are setting the stage now for IU women. Mm-hmm. What does that mean to you and this program to know that they reach out to you now as Indiana's one of the leaders when it comes to women's basketball?
Well, I'm extremely grateful. None of it's done without having a great staff. None of it's can be done without having great players and then, great support from whether it's Scott, Maddie, all of it, Lo, Kevin, our strength and conditioning, coach, Ben, our athletic trainer. I mean, it takes a small village to do something, like we've been able to do, and I'm so grateful for all those people. It's cool that I can represent us and I can talk about Indiana women's basketball. And, when Coach Rhett and I arrived here 9 years ago, it's hard to believe we're going into our 10th season. We always said we wanted to, the tradition had always been on the men's side, and we wanted to build our own tradition. So when people spoke of Indiana basketball, it wasn't exclusive just to men's basketball. And anybody that knows me knows that I'm a huge Indiana men's basketball fan, but one of the goals here was for us to create this excitement in Bloomington, in Indianapolis, in the surrounding areas, that people wanted to come and watch Indiana women's basketball. So to sit here and be able to say, now that the state of Indiana has 2 teams that they can be really proud of, means a lot.
Todd.
Todd Golden, CNHI. Terry,
Todd.
Hi, how are you? I want to take that one step further. When Mike was talking about his expectations for his team, he was talking about, adding a banner and Big Ten championships and all that. It struck me, though, that nothing would be more meaningful than the first banner for women's basketball.
Yeah.
Are you ready to embrace that expectation? Do you feel like the team is ready to embrace that expectation for this season?
There's no question. I said it a year ago, I think at Hoosier Hysteria, that we wanted, one of those back there, and I'll continue to say it. We've been so close. Anytime that you have the opportunity to get to a Sweet 16, get to an Elite 8, the way we have, and you realize it's just that one game, and you're playing for a Final Four, you're playing for a national championship, and so, we've tasted it, if you will. We know what it takes to get there, there's no question that we have everything we need in order to be able to do that, to win a national championship. And so I think everybody's excited. I think maybe pundits, on the outside, maybe, Grace Berger's, those are some huge shoes to fill. But, I still really, really like our pieces. And, I'll bet on these guys, knowing what by seeing what I've been able to see with them inside of practice. I do think we have a chance.
Elsie.
Elsie Norton, SB Nation. Just going through the transfer portal process, what really stood out to you about Shawnee, just her game, who she is as a person?
Yeah, I think one of the concerns for us was how do we protect Mac a little bit in terms of her reps. And so I think going out and finding a post player that can come in like Shawnee's, obviously she was a terrific player at UT Martin, and has the statistics to back some of that up. But I really feel like we needed to have another post player that could come in and not just help us, but take some of those reps away from Mackenzie. And I think Mac's back there, she's not going to like to hear that. But the reason is because we know that the last 2 years, Mac has battled some issues or injuries down the stretch. And so I'm not going to call it load management, but I will say that we're going to have to try to protect Mac as well as we can in practices, long practices. This is a long season, and a lot of those reps are going to be, going to Shawnee's. And so I think you're going to see a young lady in Shawnee's that's going to continue to improve inside of our program and really, really help us. But great kid. She and Chloe played summer ball together, so good friends there. Another kid from the Tennessee area, and so we're excited. She has a tremendous upside to her.
Zach.
Zach Osterman, again, Indianapolis Star. Asking about another player specifically, Yarden. Obviously a really good freshman season. If maybe sometimes it felt like with all the experienced talent around her, maybe people didn't give her enough attention.
Yeah.
How have you challenged her to push herself on this season where when you've got someone that has scored, rebounded, shot the ball like she did as a freshman, where do you tell her, let's grow this area of your game next?
Well, I think one of the particular areas, and she's been working with AP a lot in her player development, is, she obviously shot the ball, as you mentioned, Zach, at a really high clip. But, I want to be able to utilize her like we used Grace Berger as a post, right? And there was often times that we felt good about the matchup that Grace had on her, and we had play calls that would send Grace to the low block, play with her back to the basket. And so we feel like we can do some unique things because she's a big guard, and put her in positions with her back to the basket, and not always revert back to her little fadeaway, that international fadeaway that she brought with her from Israel, right? We want her to play with more moxie, play with more tenacity, and as we call it in our practices, put people in the basket, which means you play through contact. You score, you get yourself to the free throw line, and so that's really been this summer. That, her conditioning, her strength. When she showed up in Greece, I felt like she had gotten taller, but it wasn't that her height changed. Her shoulders had changed. She filled out in her shoulders, and so Kevin and her trainer over in Israel stayed in contact those couple months that she was back there, and so she's really has filled out shoulder-wise. She's still shooting the ball really well, but I'd like to be able to be creative with her, like I said, with her back to the basket a little bit more, where she can take advantage of her size.
All right, last question to you right here, Coach.
Alexa Ross, CBS 4, Fox 59. We talked last year about how there was excitement about the group that was coming in, but just some questions just because there were so many new pieces. Now it's not that way. There are just fewer new pieces, and how much more comfortable are you guys going into this season and knowing that you can continue building upon what you did last season?
Yeah, I think Sid hit it on the head again. Anytime that you can take international trips the way we did, it just helps. With those new kids. And when Lene and Jules, they already understood, and Charnice, the work piece, but, just the time that you can spend together and getting to know one another. There's a real, not just camaraderie, but the chemistry. This is a group that really enjoys being around each other. We just had a recruit in over the weekend, and it's not often that, they left my house to go and I think get ice cream or do something. It's not often that you have your entire team do that, right? It's usually the host and maybe 2 or 3 other teammates, but the entire team went. And so that's unusual, especially when you have some older kids like we have with Mac. Mac's a 5th year. She's been here forever, but Mac's always wanted to be a part of the process, recruiting process for us. And I think that's where it starts. There's a specialness that this group has that they really, really enjoy one another. And, in doing this as long as I have, that will translate onto the floor. Teams that like each other seem to be teams that play well with one another.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
One-on-one interviews will begin in the South over there. You guys can go ahead with those now.
Thanks, Mac.